She fooled the smartest men alive: Henry Kissinger, George Shultz, James Mattis, Rupert Murdoch, with a finger prick and a mysterious black box she wouldn't let anyone open. Theranos became a $9 billion legend. A 19-year-old college dropout became a billionaire on paper, and real people bought medical answers at a pharmacy, only to learn later that some of those answers couldn't be trusted. So how did the most experienced power players on Earth fall into the Theranos trap? Let's rewind to 2003 and break it down step by step. The rise, the black box tricks, the whistleblower war, and the psychology that made smart people ignore smoke. Because once you see the mechanism, you start spotting it everywhere. In 2003, Elizabeth Holmes is at Stanford. She sees a real pain. Blood tests feel slow, expensive, and outdated. You get vials drawn, the lab disappears your sample, and you wait. Her pitch is perfect Silicon Valley poetry. One tiny finger prick, a small, sleek machine, and suddenly you can run tons of tests, fast and cheap. A healthcare iPhone. Then she builds the image. Black turtleneck, Steve Jobs vibes. A calm, controlled voice that makes big claims sound like facts. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That look and tone become part of the evidence for people who don't know how labs work. So here's the plain English science. Blood testing isn't magic. It's chemistry plus plumbing. A machine needs enough blood to physically move through tiny pathways, mix with chemicals, and be measured accurately. Most lab systems have a boring minimum requirement: sample volume. If you don't have enough liquid, you can still get a number, but the number can become fragile, precise looking, but wrong. If Theranos had truly solved that, the obvious move would be open the hood, let independent experts watch the full process end to end, publish clean validation, let partners see it run reliably in daylight. Theranos didn't do that. It built a black box. Not just a device, but a whole company designed to stay closed. Teams were siloed, information was locked down, demos were controlled, and that's insight number one. If you can't win by proving the technology, you can still win by controlling what people are allowed to see. Because when the box is closed, people judge the only visible signals: confidence and status. And Theranos stacked status like a pyramid. Kissinger, Shultz, Mattis. These names don't make chemistry work, but they make a story feel serious. Then add Rupert Murdoch, one of the hardest business titans alive, backing Theranos with huge money, and the brain shortcut kicks in. Someone important must have checked. And in 2015, a moment happens that feels like an official stamp. Joe Biden tours Theranos and publicly praises the excitement of medical innovation. Key detail: Biden wasn't an investor, and he wasn't validating the science. But that's exactly why it matters. Political prestige looks like a seal of approval even when it isn't. It amplifies the halo. That halo is the trap. A beautiful mission plus borrowed credibility makes people treat a claim like a fact. Now let's open the black box the way Theranos didn't want anyone to. Insight number 2. The miracle machine story didn't match the operating reality. Reporting and later evidence described a patchwork. Many tests were run on conventional commercial lab analyzers, the same kinds hospitals already used, while the Theranos device was the star of the show. That creates a simple physics problem. If your brand is a drop of blood, but the machines you rely on expect more volume, you have to turn a drop into more liquid. That's where dilution comes in. Think of juice. Add water, you get more volume, but the flavor gets weaker. In blood testing, flavor is concentration. Potassium, sodium, hormones, markers. Dilute too much and results can drift, especially near the edge of normal, where decisions get scary. And here's insight number 3. Finger prick blood isn't just smaller, it can be messier. If you squeeze a finger to get more blood, you can damage cells. Hemolysis, cells breaking open, can distort certain readings, including electrolytes like potassium. So even before you talk about machines, the sample itself can sabotage accuracy. Now the part that confuses most viewers: how did Theranos avoid getting exposed early? How did they pass checks and impress visitors? Proficiency testing is a big one. People imagine a surprise inspector standing over the lab. But proficiency testing is often more like a secret exam sent to you. An outside program mails mystery samples. You test them, you send the results back. That creates a loophole. If you claim your black box does everything, but when the exam sample arrives, you route it to a different, more reliable machine, you can still pass. Investigative reporting described Theranos splitting some proficiency testing samples, running part on Edison and part on other instruments. In simple terms, the black box didn't have to truly ace the exam if you could quietly answer the hardest questions somewhere else. Then demos and tours. A controlled demo is theater. Best case conditions on the founder's terms. Trial reporting described that demo devices could be set so error messages weren't visible. So even if the machine struggled, the audience wouldn't see warning lights. Imagine a car dashboard with the check engine light disabled. You can take a drive and feel impressed while the engine is screaming under the hood. And yes, tests were sold to real people. This wasn't just investor hype. Consumers bought Theranos tests in pharmacies, and Arizona later required refunds through a settlement. Real money back to real customers. That's the moment the story stops being startup drama and becomes a public harm story. What did harm look like? One example from court testimony, a former Theranos patient described receiving a falsely positive HIV result from a Theranos test at Walgreens in 2015. Think about what that does to a person. That's panic you can't unfeel. A life briefly rewritten by a lab printout. Then came the moment that should end any miracle story instantly. Theranos voided 2 years of Edison results, 2014 and 2015, and issued tens of thousands of corrected reports, according to reporting. That's not a few glitches. That's a company admitting the core output couldn't be trusted. This is where whistleblowers matter. A black box only opens from the inside. People inside Theranos saw the gap between what was promised and what could actually be proven. They raised alarms. And when investigative reporting in 2015 turned that internal smoke into public fire, the spell broke. Regulators pushed harder. Partners backed away. And the company that ran on prestige was finally forced to face the one demand it had spent years dodging. Show the work. From there, it wasn't a slow decline. It was a collapse. Holmes was convicted of defrauding investors and sentenced to more than a decade in federal prison. And the company behind the myth didn't quietly pivot. In 2018, Theranos shut down and dissolved, laid off what was left of its staff, and the so-called revolution was reduced to liquidation. Assets sold off, and the patents handed over to Fortress. The $9 billion story didn't become a smaller company. It became a cautionary file folder. And the damage didn't stay inside boardrooms. It landed on regular people. Arizona forced Theranos to refund $4.65 million to more than 175,000 customers who bought tests. And Walgreens later agreed to a $44 million settlement for Theranos testing customers in Arizona and California. Real money for real fear. For results that never should have been sold like certainty. Holmes' story didn't end with a comeback tour. She reported to federal prison on May 30th, 2023, and she's still there, at FPC Bryan in Texas, while courts upheld a restitution order of about $452 million. And according to reports based on BOP records, her projected release date is December 30th, 2031.